Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Geek Talk. This is Giving Entrepreneurs Expert Knowledge Podcast, and I am your host, Sabrina Lowery, better known as the Tech Evangelist. On tonight's episode, we have a very special guest feature this evening for a delightful conversation for everyone. So let's go ahead and check in. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Be sure to post your comments and questions for our guests along the way. And we're going to get started and jump into tonight's conversation live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So I want to let everyone know that if you are an entrepreneur and you are growing your business, scaling, elevating your business, you are looking to build wealth, and you want to figure out how to use technology and integrate AI without feeling overwhelmed, this podcast is for you. And ladies and gentlemen, the season is concluding in 5 more episodes at the end of June. We are wrapping this season. It has been quite enjoyable. I hope that you all have gotten what you needed from my experts. And I want to again welcome you to Geek Talk. This episode is powered by Sabrina Lowery Enterprises, LLC. And if you should need to book a consultation, please go to sabrinaloweryenterprises.com. It would be my pleasure to serve you. And if you are looking for real estate services, Legacy Realty and Management is available. My full service real estate brokerage and property management company. We have listings available for sale and a brand new 2-bedroom condo in Buckhead, minutes away from Lenox Mall, Phipps Plaza, and the just very lavish area in Atlanta. And I want you to go to legacyrealtyandmanagement.com to learn more and just connect with me for all your real estate needs. So again, welcome to Geek Talk. And I'm going to jump right in and introduce Naomi Carrington-Hockman. Naomi is a world-renowned, foremost transformation expert, international speaker, best-selling author, and philanthropist, a versatile, proven leader with almost 30 years of military and civil leadership skills, decision-making skills, and management experience. She expertly provides guidance on presentation skills and change management within large organizations and teams. Now, the semi-retired Naomi works as an IT program manager, defense contractor, and I would like for her to tell you more about herself. Naomi, welcome to Geek Talk.
Thank you so much, Sabrina, for having me on Geek Talk.
I'm excited to have you here as one of my amazing ladies in tech co-authors, best-selling authors. We just gave a little brief intro, but let's get into the conversation, Naomi. Why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself, what you do, and who you do it for?
Sabrina, I am the CEO of Naomi Speaks, which specializes in public speaking and leadership development with an AI integration. So I serve anyone who's trying to bridge the gap between their current operations, how they present themselves, and integrate AI. So I bridge that gap for you.
Thank you so much for that, Naomi. And in your free time, when you are not helping entrepreneurs elevate globally, what is it that you like to do for fun?
My Number one hobby is Toastmasters International. We do public speaking and leadership development around the globe, and I've had the honor and privilege to be able to serve thousands of members across worldwide.
That is fantastic. I've heard so many amazing things about Toastmasters, Naomi. So let's talk about that. Before we talk about Toastmasters, let's identify your superpower so that our audience knows exactly what expertise they have in front of them this evening.
I would definitely say my superpower is being able to polish how people present themselves. Have been able to have the privilege to coach and train several people, and they are able to achieve awards at their companies, win pitch competitions, get promotions at work, and the list goes on and on. So I believe you can't call yourself a leader if you cannot effectively communicate.
Agreed 100,000%. Communication is the number one skill of leaders. And that is why I admire you so much. And I admire your training. Now, let's go back before Naomi speaks. Let's introduce the audience into your backstory and tell them about your journey from veteran to entrepreneurship, and clip that.
So I served for 20 years in the United States Army as a signal officer. So if you picture, I was the AT&T for the Army. If you needed a cell phone, if you needed a data network, if you needed a satellite service, anywhere across the globe, I provided it for you. So that's what I did for 20 years. So a lot of on network communication skills, a lot of project management. And that's where I kind of leaned into when I left the Army and became a defense contractor. So I did a lot of project management for IT programs across the Department of Defense. And yes, we were called the Department of Defense back then. You're on mute, Sabrina.
I noticed. Thank you so much for that. I love that backstory because I wanted to hear you say that. A veteran, decades, 2 decades in the military, when there's this stigma that's still 20 years today that still exists when it comes to leaders being women. Just last week, we had the phenomenal Dr. Nadia Monsanto on our broadcast, and she shared a little bit about her journey. Now, every woman, every man's journey is different. Naomi, tell us about your military story, will you?
Well, I share a little bit of it in one of my books called Her March Forward. And I talk about always being the only person in the room that looked like me. There wasn't a lot of people that looked like me to look up to. So I emulated the males that were around me. And what I discovered was the fact that when women exhibit the character traits of men, it is not received the same way. We are labeled toxic. We are labeled all kinds of negative connotations. And so I actually got my second master's while in the Army, and it was on female toxic leadership. So not only did I get to experience it, I got to study it and actually be aware of the dynamic of being a female in the military.
Oh, that's phenomenal. And I want to thank you for your service. I want everyone that is connected with us, whether you are on the replay or live, thank Naomi for her service. I think it is absolutely amazing when we hear the journey, because you never know what it is that actually leads women into the military career, because you hear about the lifestyle and then you hear about the benefits, but then you also hear about some of the challenges. So, what is a unique challenge you may have faced during your time in the military, and how did you overcome that obstacle?
One unique challenge that I faced was I also married a military officer. So, fortunately for us, we were able to be always assigned together. We met in our first assignments and we were able to be assigned in close proximity, time and space to each other. But the challenge with that is we were competing for the same jobs. So I had leaders, bosses, supervisors that just assumed my husband was senior to me. And they gave him the key developmental jobs ahead of me, even though timeline, I needed the job before him.
Wow.
So that was one thing that really, it was hard to come home to be like, hey, you got that job that I should have had.
Oh my
And,
God.
and they gave it to him, one, because he's a male, and two, they assumed he was senior without
Yeah.
actually like looking it up. So how I overcame it was I kicked ass in the job I did have. So I was able to be the first female to do certain things at my rank. I was able to be the first one just leading the way. And so he may have gotten the job that he needed. He may have gotten the positions. He have gotten the assignments that I deservedly needed. But what I did was I used excellence as my moniker.
Absolutely, rightfully so. And congratulations to you. I could only imagine, Naomi, what pillow talk was like at night when it came down to those challenging times, right? And so I have worked with my spouse. And so hearing you share that story about that challenge and then still having to come home and be civil is amazing. And how long have you two been married now?
25 years.
Congratulations. That is absolutely phenomenal. So, how do you manage that work life balance? And do you still work together?
He is a silent partner in Naomi Speaks. So we don't actively work together. We're both retired. We're both just enjoying traveling around the world. But we do, we've navigated being dual military, both working parents with two teenage kids now. So it's all about balance. We've never, ever been a traditional family unit. So what's normal in our household, yeah.
Looks
If
different for everyone, right?
Yeah, if he had to learn how to cook, because if not, he wouldn't eat because I was still at work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he had to take care of the non-traditional aspects.
I love that. And that just is the non conforming roles that we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to take a moment and pause for our audience. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to another episode of Geek Talk, where we give entrepreneurs expert knowledge. My name is Sabrina Lowery. I am your host, and we have a very special guest here with us this evening. Naomi Carrington-Hockman, who is sharing her story, her service as a leader in the military, being a veteran and being a spouse all at the same time. So, Naomi, let's jump into some of the things that you have going on recently. You and I were able to share a couple of projects together. Ladies in Tech Volumes 3 and Ladies in Tech Volume 4. So let's talk to the people and clip that. Tell everyone about your journey as a best-selling author and then share some of your other author books, all right?
So I would have had to say that my second hobby would be writing books because I'm up to 10, and my participation in Ladies in Tech, I did volume 3 was my first foray with the ladies. And in that one, I talked more about how you present yourself as the not a hard technical, even though I served as an engineer, I served as in some hard roles. I talk about how you make decisions from we to me. Because in the military, it's big teams, right? And, I definitely talked about the fact that we needed to, when I came out of the Army, I needed to start talking about me. So in my chapter in volume 3, I talk about how we communicate our successes. A lot of times females, they will give all the praise to their team or to everybody else and forget themselves.
Mhm.
So I have coined a concept of when your boss or somebody asks you, what did you accomplish? You would say, I led the team to ... whatever the accomplishment was.
Yep.
Don't forget to put you in that sentence, because what happened to me was I brought that team mentality into the civilian sector, and I overheard my boss saying, well, she didn't do anything. And I'm like, what? So, and it's because I never said what I did. So, spreading out the praise to include yourself was a key part of the volume 3 chapter. Yes.
That's awesome. And we have Ladies in Tech and Friends, Volume 4. And in that chapter, Dr. Naomi talks about, let's go into our segment here, the experience of being the only one, as you alluded to earlier. Tell us about that one.
Well, no surprise, throughout my entire career, there have been rooms and circumstances where I was the only one that looked like me. Maybe I was the only female. Maybe I was the only African American female. Maybe once I got out of the military, I was the only veteran. So there were several aspects of my career where I was the only one. And so that's what my chapter in volume 4 is about, how I navigate and turn my uniqueness into a superpower. Turn my uniqueness and my perspective and my collective experiences into what makes me great.
That's great, because a lot of times there's this self-sabotage where you feel like, oh, if I do give that recognition, that somehow I'm seeking attention. But I love how you framed that story. That was a lesson, and I hope our entrepreneurs picked up what you put down, Naomi, because that was a valuable lesson. So thank you for that. So I want you to talk about your other books. Share with us some of the book titles and how everyone can support you.
So all my books can be found on naomispeaks.com. And some of the other ones, my biggest book, solo book, is called A Major Transformation: How to Lead in 7 Different Environments. Some of those environments are being a mother, being in the military, being in the civilian sector, being in the homeowners association, which I'm in the leadership position for my homeowners association, being in a nonprofit or volunteer organizations, being in things like organizations like Toastmasters International. So I have 7 different environments where how you lead matters and how you show up matters. So that's what I talk about in my book. And then my other solo book, just literally hot off the press, is my coloring book. So Sabrina, Bloom Where You Are is a labor of love coloring book. And it is in honor of my Cancer warriors. My best friend in the Army passed away last year from cancer. And then I talked to another friend of mine, and she had breast cancer, and she's going through it. And then I talked to another friend, and I talked to another friend. So one of the things that my friend that passed away, before she passed away, was she used to color. So I went around and I took pictures of the Walter Reed Oncology Ward. On the walls are these quilts and paintings and stuff. So I took pictures of that. I used AI and I turned those into coloring sheets. And then I inserted some pages of affirmations and journal opportunities. And so the proceeds from Bloom Where You Are is going to go to cancer research in honor of all the cancer warriors that I know and I don't even know.
Oh, that is amazing. Congratulations, Naomi. That is amazing. I just remember when I met you in person after we worked together virtually for a number of months. And when I read your bio and when I learn more and more about you, you definitely have a servant heart. You have traveled, as your bio reads over here, over 60 countries. Can you talk to our audience about that lifestyle? What is it like to go through these other countries, not just as a veteran, not just as a veteran owned business owner, not just as a minority leader, not just as Naomi Carrington-Hockman? How do we have an experience of worldwide travel? Tell the people.
So I believe I had the travel bug from birth because I was born in New York City, Brooklyn. However, I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago. So every summer I traveled to New York until I went to college in New York City. And so I've always been traveling since I was 10 months old. I consider myself a global citizen. It's so important for me to visit other cultures, envelop myself in other cultures, take lessons learned from other cultures. Because, yes, the United States is one of the greatest countries in the world. However, we can learn from other cultures. So, having traveled to all 7 continents, I did Antarctica, my bucket list location last year. And having traveled to all 7 continents, I thoroughly believe the human spirit is community. And so we have to embrace each other. We have to take care of each other, regardless of what country you're from. So it's my global citizenship.
Yes. Thank you for that nugget. I am excited about you being here because I know and I've recognized over the years the amazing work that you do. I recently saw you posting about an international speaking opportunity. Do you want to speak a little bit about your experience? I would love to hear your backstory.
So I got a unique award. It's that gold ball behind me. And it's called the Flux Award. And it was in the Philippines. And I was able to sit on a panel with other uh, professionals, heart surgeons, psychologists, and we talked about AI in the healthcare industry. And the aspect was how to bring the human aspect back into the healthcare industry while integrating AI. So it was a completely amazing trip. I was able to meet more global. You had one guy from the UK, one guy from Saudi Arabia. So it was a truly international panel. And I got to represent the United States of America.
Congratulations on that. I was so excited for you. I know that that is exciting. And just even the travel leading up to the moment on stage is part of the journey. So, congratulations on being an international global speaker. That's amazing. Amazing. So, let's segue. Let's clip that. And let's talk about what you might want to leave with our audience of entrepreneurs. You have a number of products and services. How can our entrepreneurs connect with you, do business with you, and get copies of your books?
So all my books and getting a hold of me is on naomispeaks.com. On there, you can purchase the books. You can purchase, you can connect with me so that we can do coaching sessions. I do one-on-one as well as group coaching, as well as you can book me for keynotes and other seminars, webinars, retreats, those kinds of activities. But what's coming up very soon in August is I will be on the Leadership Experience Tour hosted by Sean Fair. And that's going to be on the 9th of August in Detroit, Michigan. So more information is on there. You can purchase virtual tickets to see myself and about 15 other phenomenal speakers across different genres take the stage.
Congratulations, Naomi. I am going to give you an opportunity as we close out. I'm going to share your website with our audience. All right, give me just a moment. Let me pull that back. Let's go back here and let's share first. And that way you can direct the audience through how they can contact you for your products. There we go. All right, the floor is yours.
So I speak a lot about the human aspects of communication. It is important that we command how we present ourselves to the world. So if you need any assistance, you can purchase my books, you can book me to speak, and you can book coaching sessions with me so that we can perfect how you show up in the world. Thank you, Sabrina, for having me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. This has been excellent, right? We've been talking for months about doing this together, being on each other's platforms, supporting one another in our business goals and achievements. I want to congratulate you on all of your recent accolades. I know the world is just going to receive all the greatness that you have, that you are offering everyone. And I want to remind everyone to go and connect with Naomi. Her email is up on the screen, info@naomispeaks.com, and her website, naomispeaks.com. Thank you so much for being my special guest tonight on Geek Talk.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another amazing conversation with a dynamic expert and speaker, Naomi Carrington-Hockman. She was amazing. I have admired her for so many years. She is part of our anthology series. Make sure you all pick up that book bundle so that you are able to support Naomi and I and all of the Ladies in Tech and Friends community. Our sisterhood is alive and thriving. There are some tremendous things happening in our Ladies in Tech community. And so you are invited to connect with us on our LinkedIn group or our Facebook group and just search for Ladies in Tech, and we will be happy to connect with you. Our community is awesome. And in case you have not heard, when Dr. Kenyatta Rucker's Power, our visionary author, mentioned 2027 Ladies in Tech and Friends, the Entrepreneurs Edition is coming to you. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for the updates. Go and learn more about your host and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that every Tuesday you are alerted about the next and newest featured guest here on Geek Talk. And as a reminder, if you want to connect with me, you should go to sabrinalowery.com. If you need to book some time, you have some specific questions, you want to book me, you need some consulting services, please go to email me at helpdesk@sabrinalowery.com. And it will be my pleasure to serve. So thank you all again for being here. It is always a great conversation on Geek Talk, where we give entrepreneurs expert knowledge. Make it a great day. See you next Tuesday.